Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chip Builder series, where we talk to people building the future of AI. And we love talking to people who are bringing AI into different parts of the world, new industries that you might not expect. And no one represents that better than today's guest. Jaymes comes to us all the way from Fargo, North Dakota, the hub of AI. It is great to have you. He runs a company called Catalytic Conversations, and he'll tell you a little bit about what they're working on. But Jaymes, we're so excited to dive in and learn more about how you're using AI. Welcome to the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
It
My
is.
pleasure. I've been really excited watching this.
Oh, that's so fun. And you are one of our hackathon winners as well. And so tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about your day-to-day job and how you kind of see it helping that, which is kind of a little bit different than most people might
Yeah,
expect.
100%. So my whole thing that I focus around is mostly digital wellness. So helping people connect to technology, or connect to each other via technology more effectively, be more human online, and avoiding the burnout that often happens. I like to study how burnout impacts us and how we can overcome those challenges. And then most of the default ways we engage with technology nowadays actually undermines our ability to deal with stress effectively. So figuring out better ways to use technology, more healthy ways to use social media, so you don't have to completely abandon modern technology. Because hey, I'm a technophile. I like technology. So I'm a hacker. I'm a coder. I like to play with these things. I want to use them in a healthy way. And so I help companies, help individuals, career performance, that kind of stuff. Doing one-on-one coaching or trainings for companies, all that kind of stuff, helping them understand burnout better, so they can improve the performance and the wellness of their employees as well as their future. So that's my focus. That's why I'm super excited about AI, because it's just one of those things that we're all unsure about. Like, is this good? Is this bad? Is this Skynet? Is this is this amazing? Yes, the answer, right? So it is what we make of it. So figuring out how to do that in an ethical and healthy way. So there's just right down my alley. I love it, absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, like you said, you're a hacker and you're exploring this. So you've built quite a few AI tools. So tell us a little bit about things you've
Mhm.
played with and what you've maybe learned throughout the process, and we'll have you show us what you built.
Yeah, so I jumped in way back early on and playing with ChatGPT, helping out with marketing stuff, playing around different pieces. Found out pretty quickly that it's actually really good for making recipes. So my wife and I have different food sensitivities or flavor profiles. She likes certain things, I like other things, and we have rotating diets and different things like that. So it's complicated trying to here's this recipe, let's adapt it so that both of us like it, right? And so it's fun asking AI to just tell us hey, how to adapt this. It'll give us variations, and it's a ton of fun. So we started off with that kind of thing, playing around with it. I've used it for running D&D campaigns and that kind of stuff too. So I've always exploring, testing out different variations. But one of the things that I was always kind of pondering in the back of my mind is how does this translate to what I'm doing professionally? What as the actual service offering too? Because there's a lot of things that are just kind of grunt work oftentimes in coaching. It takes up a lot of the live time with the high value time with the client, right? Of going through assessments and checking in on things and all this kind of stuff, which can be challenging to use up all that, sometimes expensive time that you're working with the client with. It's how can I maximize this? And also there's this age old question with coaching. It's how do I reach enough people? Right? That's also cost effective for me, right? One-on-one is very hard to scale. If you're doing it in a group environment, you don't get that one-on-one touch. You get some more of the communal aspect, which is really nice. But you end up having to price things in such a way that it makes coaching kind of inaccessible to large numbers of people, right? And so if you have a mission and a goal and a drive to help people, it's kind of this weird catch-22. You're passionate about it, but you also need to run a business too, right? And so finding your profit margins is challenging, and how to price things is challenging. It's one of the big, huge, age-old questions in the industry. So I was well, what if I could have a coach bot? What would that even look like? Would that put me out of a business? Do I even want to explore this? Right? And there's a lot of coaches out there are terrified of it. They don't want to explore it. But I was so what would this actually look like? What are the fundamental components of AI that it could authentically bring to the table, right? Well, one of the things that first popped in my head is that AI is fundamentally a mirror. That's how it works, right? And it reflects back humanity. And so I wanted to explore and see, how can I use that to overlap with what a coach fundamentally is? Because a coach is fundamentally a mirror. It's a human mirror reflects back to the client what they need to see in a more clear way to be able to move forward and take action on things in their life, right? Like a midwife for action is one of the ways I put it. So providing the extra clarity that's allowed there. So there's a lot of overlap there. But the thing I was trying to figure out was, how do we do this in a safe way? Because there's a lot of challenges with mental health issues with AI. People can create codependent relationships with AI. AI is notoriously psychologically volatile. So you don't want like a bipolar, rogue AI being your coach. That would be bad. So there's all these components to it too you have to take into consideration. So there's a lot of potential for really cool, amazing things, but also some dangers there. And then so also that time-saving aspect, how can we incorporate these things in? So what I've been working on is figuring out how to have a conversation with the AI. And then this is coming out in V2 of the current bot that I created for the hackathon. Actually having it tie into assessments. And they've actually done studies that show that AI conversational assessments for like depression are on par with or even better than standard clinical depression assessments, which is mind-blowing when you think about it. Like, well, that's super cool. Because humans have a hard time just putting numbers to abstract things. We're just not good at that. Of like saying, hey, am I feeling a 4 or a 3.5 on a 1 to 10 scale about how angsty I am? Like, how do you even answer that? Like, that's just so weird, it's alien to us. AI is actually really good at it, though. And so figuring out ways to create these conversational loops and these structures of conversation that can gain meaningful information from someone on their own time, in between things, where going back and forth to work or in the middle of the night or whatever, when a coach isn't available. So it's more accessible, more structured, more available, always polite, always kind, immensely patient with you, all these great things. And then also being able to take that information and then log it and track it and show your progress on things and have these, conversational behind the scenes assessments running to track as you're going without you having to stop and fill out a form every once in a while. So that's my ultimate goal, because then you can tie it into like, having it be an LMS system as well, where you can take micro pieces of learning and, hey, according to where you're at in this conversation, it sounds like this is the next piece of information you need to learn next. Here's the next video, or here's the next module. And so you have to go through and see all of the videos all at once, just get overwhelmed by it. You're getting it fed to you conversationally as you're going in a way that's meaningful to you. And then you can like follow, instead of like having to say, okay, did I like 1 to 5? How helpful was this video? Blah, I don't know. 5, 3, I don't know, right? Instead of saying, what did you learn from that? You can have a conversation back and forth with the AI to actually get some meaningful feedback from it. So feedback forms, assessment forms, onboarding training, coaching, all these different industries and these challenges that we've seen technology from a user interface perspective, I really see a huge win for AI. So I'm trying to be at the cutting edge of exploring that and engineering that prompt to be able to be effective. And it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be initially. AI likes to go off on rabbit trails. So trying to keep it consistently in that flow, not giving advice, actually only asking questions, all these kinds of things. Speaking as a coach, knowing how to evaluate and assess it. If you just like tell AI, what is a coach? It gives you a pretty good definition. If you ask it to be a coach, so it's better than a human in some ways already.
That's fascinating. So, well, let's go. If you're willing to share some of it, I don't want you to give away any secret sauce, but if you're willing to show it, we'll take a look. While you're pulling that up, you can build 2 ways right now with Chipp, which is like just with a prompt or with an assistant API where you add files. So you built it all with prompts, or did you also upload files for reference?
Both. So I did a mix. So kind of the way I'm pulling up three different things here. So let me clear out my few extra tabs up here. So where I started, I'll kind of show you through the walkthrough here. So I have a very cluttered ChatGPT dashboard here. As expected. The window, this one over here. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is where I started off with, is just inside regular ChatGPT. And so what I'll do is I pop over and explore here. What I've got is a large number of different iterations of different coach tests that I've made. And I have an executive assistant who helps me out with this. I call him my AI herder, like a sheep herder, goat herder. He's my AI herder. because he helps me manage a lot of these and gain access to them and like test them. So he actually has a really robust intuition for working with prompt engineering. And so we collaborate on a lot of this. So I actually, so the prize money that I got for the best in category, I sent that directly to him as a Christmas bonus because
Really?
like he did a ton of work in here on this. It's super amazing. So like this was my personal one. It's a fun Irish butler who helps out with, making those recipes I was mentioning. I created a custom GPT for that. I've tested out a bunch of different things. This is like my business one here. But I've got like these different coaches down here that these are basically iterations on a custom GPTs that I can quickly spin up a new one, run a bunch of tests on it in the more affordable. So I don't have to pay I'm already paying, $20 a month for this. I might as well use it until I run to the rate limit. And so I use this for testing things out and just iterating through, running through conversations, and I'll run different scenarios through different people, whether it's an executive or someone who has ADHD, someone who has depression, different personas of different people who are struggling with different things, like, busy stay-at-home mom or whatever. And then I'll just like, hey, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with this. And then I'll like see how the conversation flows. How long does it take for it to start giving advice? Or how long does it take for it to give me some kind of clarity or actionable direction to go on, right? Is it just spinning its wheels and being annoying or getting into repetitive loops? Is it actually, responding back authentically to what I'm saying? Like all these different evaluations as if it's an actual coach, right? So I'll run through that, test it a bunch in here, and tweak it, because then I can add in files in here. So if I go in here, edit my GPT, I'll show you some of the pieces here. So I have a pretty robust prompt here, specific coaching models I'll use, and how to, this is a very, very long prompt. I won't show all of it, but I also have these different things here. So I have an ethical framework document that I have as kind of like a manifesto for ethical coaching that it has to abide by. So it would never like recommend suicide, for example, or something like that. And then this is like referencing coaching questions to help improve the quality of its questions that it uses. So not as generic, they're more targeted and tailored to like these are like pre-engineered coaching questions that it can reference as inspiration. And this is a resources document for like approved recordings of webinars that I provide professionally that it can reference to answer specific questions and challenges. So I wanted to pull from these primarily. So we worked. This is the one that took us the longest to figure out how to get it to actually behave on, and it still is a bit waffly, but it works most of the time. We have some ideas for improving how to make this work. I think I'm using it as an API actually to pull from another document source instead of having a text file here. But that's how I've been running with these, to combining the files with the prompt to kind of go back and forth between the two in that way. There's a lot of things that are in here in the actual prompt that took a lot of like, hey, this is something that's just really annoying. Like ask this question so many times before going on to the next question. Rephrase it this many ways. Don't say this. Don't ask for this. Don't use this word. Rely more on this. Have more open-ended questions. All these kinds of things to kind of refine and trying to like codify what it means to have a coaching conversation. So there's a lot of work that went into the engineering there. So once I've played around with this, we'll translate it over into, OpenAI over here, which actually I'm not logged in over here. Oh, well, it's basically the same kind of idea as over on here, though. I'll basically take the same prompt, the same files, and upload it, create an assistant over here. The thing is that the way it interacts with an assistant versus a GPT are slightly different. So we'll run through a lot of the same tests again because they're slightly nuanced. And so we'll have to debug some things again to make sure it still works. And then we'll deploy it over onto here. So I've got, this is what an initial sandbox kind of testing one. This is the actual bot here. So then we'll go in here, link it into the actual description, all that kind of stuff. And then we will incorporate in the actual assistant link and the API keys and set it all up here. I need to go in here and add some more suggestions over here, which since you added that feature, it's super cool. Glad you added that in. So
awesome.
I got to feed some of those ones in there. And then you can test it out a little bit on here with the credits and so on, and then share it out. So I use this for deployment basically, but most of my testing happens all the way over in chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thanks for showing us that. So it sounds like a lot of tweaking and with prompts, like telling it very explicitly. And so as you kind of peer forward into the near future, how do you kind of imagine integrating this in your practice? And where do you hope to see this
Yeah,
kind of in 6
100%.
months?
So what I want, so in 6 months, there's a lot of things I have in the works. I want to get the assessment dimension of this. I want to set up an API to be going back, pulling back and forth between like a Google Sheets or an Airtable or something like that, for logging progress of the client in an objective way that it then can reference later on, and that I can also see and see where my clients are moving on, so that I can kind of bridge conversation between coaching sessions, so that I can have a half-hour session that's worth 5 hours of coaching, right? Because they're spending the time in between sessions, staying in touch, staying engaged, being held accountable, and getting more of that assessment dimension already happening. So I don't have to say, okay, now here's an exercise, and I'll go do that exercise. And they feel like there's homework to do. I said, no, just chat to my assistant coach, right, along the way, and then we can stay in touch that way.
Yeah.
So increasing the stickiness, increasing the high touch, making them feel more heard, which also improves the quality of my coaching sessions with them. So that there's a dynamic hybrid coaching environment, so that they're getting all of this high quality coaching from the bot, but then that is magnified and it creates more impact when you're coaching with me personally. So you're not removing the human part of it at all. You're actually augmenting it, which also would make it so that I'm able to handle more people more effectively. I can offer one-on-one coaching more efficiently, more effectively to more people. So it's more accessible for people. So I can handle a larger, caseload and still charge a good amount. That's not, a barrier to entry for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford high quality coaching.
That's amazing.
So that's
Well,
one thing I want to do.
yeah, it's such a
Yep.
fascinating world to think, kind of like you started at the beginning that, should you even do this? Will it replace me? I think what you're finding is it might help
Mm-hmm.
you do the
I
more
think it will
interesting
replace
work.
some people. I think it will replace some people. That is one of the challenges in the coaching industry, is that there are a lot of people out there who call themselves coaches because it's not a regulated industry. And so there's people who claim to be a coach, but they don't even know what coaching really is. They're doing like training or consulting or something else. They're not actually doing true coaching. And so there's this kind of challenge that you always have to differentiate yourself from them, right? And then they're often charging, way less than they should for coaching. And so it drives the price down. You end up with this commoditization of coaching. And so I think that people who are operating on that level, and there's a lot of them, it's a very glutted market in that way, which is a challenge. People who are actually doing authentic coaching, they'll have a harder time competing against a robot, right? Because the robot will actually do better than they are because it's trained by a professional coach, right? And so they'll need to actually level up their skills and invest in actually improving their skills to become a better coach. And if they, get their own assistant coach as a bot, then they can get the same benefits. But if they don't, they'll get replaced. Same thing with like marketing, right? If you're not doing good quality marketing, you're going to get replaced by a robot. But if you get better at it and then also bring on a robot to help you out, you'll be better in the market. See what I mean? It's an industry disruption there. So what I would love to do is to become more of like a consultant and help other. I'm actually talking with a coach that I'm a friend of just yesterday and showing him the stuff, and he got really excited about it. And he wants to work with me for me to build him a coach bot tailored to his material with his assessments and all of his stuff. And so I'm looking at actually becoming kind of the engineer of coaching in the sense, and helping other people build their own bots and their own systems. And I'm deploying it through Chipp, of course, and helping other people build their own packages and ways to have their own tailored coaching niches using the same kind of method.
That's amazing, Jaymes. Well, so fun to see the engineer of coaches coming to life before our very eyes. Thanks for sharing a little bit under the hood, and love the work you're doing, asking important questions about the future of tech and humanity. So everyone can go visit Catalytic Conversations. We'll share the link to his bot in the show notes. And Jaymes, thanks so much for using Chipp and sharing what you're building.
My pleasure.